Let's talk about goblins. Hey freaks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is JJ. I am both an author and a metalhead, and here on my channel I like to talk about the stories behind rock and metal concept albums. Today we're talking about goblins. Yay! I don't know why it's taken me so long to talk about Necrogoblikon on this channel, but I'm very excited to cover these two concept albums by them. I was originally going to do this video on heavy meta that I didn't realize was a concept album for the longest time. I always feel so embarrassed when I'm like, love a certain album, and then I come to realize that it's a concept album and I didn't even know it when I should have known it, because that is my whole channel. But yes, heavy meta is a concept album, and so is Goblin Island, but we need to talk about Goblin Island before we can talk about heavy meta, because I feel like the storylines kind of tie in with each other. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you're kind of familiar with Necrogoblikon and their whole, goblin gimmick situation, and John Goblikon. If you're not familiar with them, go watch all their music videos. They're very well done and they're hilarious. And yeah, recently there's been some lineup change as far as lead vocals go. So I have not heard what they sound like live as I saw them back for the first time with Guar when they had their original singer Scorpion. So the Goblin does sing now, which I'm pretty excited about, because I was always laughing when I see all these comments on the videos. It's like, oh, when you realize that the Goblin isn't actually like a part of the band, he's just like a guy who dances around on stage during their set. But now he is a part of the band, he does vocals. So I'm excited about that. Let me know down in the comments if you have seen Necrogoblikon recently with, I believe, Dickie Allen is their vocalist from Infant Annihilator, as well as John the Goblin. They're kind of sharing the vocals. So yeah, let me know if you've seen them and what you think about the whole lineup change, and what you think about John's vocals and all that kind of thing. Anyway, sorry, I'm just blabbering on and on and on. Let's get into this story. Okay, Necrogoblikon's debut 2006 album, Goblin Island. It's basically just a running joke with goblins the whole time, but it's a lot of fun. We start off with track one. They came from space. So here we have Tim and Nikki, the two original creators, masterminds behind this whole band. I believe they recorded this together in like their garage or something. But yeah, we have them kind of narrating this goblin story. So these goblins come to Earth from another planet, and they basically come down to feast on the humans, of course. So this time period, it feels like medieval times, because we have people fighting with like swords and everything, and we have kings and stuff. So I feel like the first time the goblins come down, it's medieval times. And they basically just come down in their spaceships, and they set everything on fire with their laser beams, and they just go around eating and eviscerating people, and just having a jolly good time being goblins. Track 2, Army of Goblins. This is the humans waging war against the goblins, because of course we're not going to lay down and let them kill us and eat us. So of course there are human armies that rise up to try and defeat the goblins. However, the goblins pretty much annihilate all the humans and take over the land. As the goblins are of course goblins, and humans are of course just humans without even very much technology, because again, medieval times. Moving on to track 3, Goblin Island. So after feasting on, basically as many humans as they'd like, the goblins take a ship full of their human prisoners, and they kind of sail out to an island where they open a portal between Earth and their goblin home base in outer space, which this goblin home base is actually named Goblin Island. It's kind of like an island that sits in outer space. At least that's how I imagine it. So they go to this Goblin Island, taking all their human prisoners, and they turn these humans into their slaves, making them build out their houses and, establish a nice little, goblin utopia on this Goblin Island. Of course, before eating a bunch of them. So yeah, the goblins kind of just establish this little paradise on their Goblin Island. Track 4, Goblins Ahoy! So a ship full of space pirates finds this map that leads to Goblin Island. So this kind of, we go from like medieval times to sort of like a space opera here with space pirates. So these space pirates follow this map that leads them to this, unassuming tropical island floating in space. And they decide to, set up camp there and, look for what they think will be some kind of like treasure or something on this island. But after they set up camp, when night falls, the goblins come out and murders all the pirates. That takes us to track 5, Goblins Are Better Than Trolls. Obviously they're better than trolls. In this track, we just basically have a bunch of goblins, setting upon their mortal enemy, which is the trolls, apparently. And so they just, you know, murder and pillage a bunch of trolls in this track, and it's just a good time. Next up in track 6, we have In the Hall of the Goblin King. So back on Earth, the goblins left behind, you know, some of their number back on Earth to finish, you know, taking over the planet. And so not all of them went to Goblin Island. They left some forces behind. So over time, the goblins have kind of established, you know, kingdoms of their own, and they have their very own Goblin King, who leads the armies against the warring humans that are about to be wiped out here pretty soon. And so this Goblin King has a jolly good time, you know, storming this human castle and ripping off the face of this human king. Next up, track 7, The Goblin King's Wrath, and here we kind of break the fourth wall, and we have our narrators, Tim and Nikki, kind of arguing about the whole songwriting of this album, and, you know, adding a shreddy solo in there, which I'm not complaining about. Anyway, moving on to track 8, Goblin Christmas Armageddon Part 1. So it turns out the day that the goblins arrived on Earth was Christmas Day. So we're kind of backtracking here to, you know, the day the goblins first arrived to annihilate the humans and eat them all. We have a scene where we just have goblins killing Santas and eating reindeer and all that fun stuff. And yeah, and lots and lots of people eating, wreaking havoc. Christmas Day. It's a Christmas massacre with goblins. And that takes us to track 9, Goblin Christmas Armageddon Part 2. And then this one, it's 1 year later. So, you know, Christmas Day, 1 year later, the goblins have been on Earth for a whole year, and they finally succeeded in slaying all the humans and annihilating the human race, which is awesome. Yay, they get to celebrate, you know, kind of their own version of Christmas for having, you know, killed and eaten all the humans. And on to track 10, the Goblins of the Black Rain. So the goblins left on Earth are known as the Goblins of the Black Rain, and they have wiped out the human race. So yay, they had their Christmas celebration for wiping out the human race. But now they have a problem because they have no more humans to eat. They killed them all. So they kind of eliminated their food source there. And they're like, well, shit, what are we going to eat now? So they decide to take their spaceships, their cruisers, to Goblin Island. So they're like, hey, let's go check out this little paradise that our buddies created on Goblin Island. Because the goblins on Goblin Island were much smarter, and instead of, you know, annihilating all the humans, they kept a number of them as slaves, so that they would always have kind of like a steady food supply. And so the Goblins of the Black Rain decide to join the rest of their goblins on Goblin Island and have a nice big happy feast of human flesh and all that good stuff. And on to track 11, the Goblin Ranger theme. This one is tons of fun. 10,000 years have passed on Goblin Island, which is a little bit different than the time that's passed on Earth. So I'm estimating, like, I don't know, 700-ish years have passed on Earth, where 10,000 years have passed on Goblin Island. And the goblins realize that the humans have somehow survived and repopulated the Earth. Like, all the goblins left Earth because they thought they wiped them all out, but, you know, they left a few of them behind, and they've repopulated the Earth over these 700 years. And so the goblins are like, oh shit, guess we can go conquer that planet again. So they put together this force of goblin rangers to go reconquer Earth. So that is just where we leave off with this album, and it kind of sets us up for what is going to take place in the 2015 album, Heavy Meta. At least that's just how my brain is processing things. So as always, this is not an official explanation of the concept, but I feel like it's a pretty straightforward one. If you read the lyrics, I think you'll come to much the same conclusion as me. But of course, I kind of filled in a little bit of the gaps here and there. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think of this concept. If you had alternate ideas, alternate visions of how things played out in this concept album, or just anything fun to say about goblins in general. Yeah, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I will be uploading the sequel, well, sequel-ish, the next concept album by Nekrogoblikon here shortly. I don't know when I'm going to upload it. I'm going to shoot it right now. Shooting it right now. I don't know when I'm going to get around to editing and uploading it. Because guys, my videos take forever for me to edit. I don't know if you guys realize how many cuts I have in each video, but I don't know how to talk half the time. So it takes a long time for me to edit these videos so that they're at least able for you to understand them. Yeah, also sorry about the setup here. I'm like in the process of moving, so I just have like heads with no masks. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to get notified when I put out that Heavy Meta concept album explained, make sure you hit subscribe and do the little bell thingy so that you get notified when I put that out. And yes, I invite you all to join my Metalhead community. Link is down in the description. It's totally free, and from there you get access to bonus content, a monthly newsletter from me, and a bunch of just fun random stuff on there. You also get to request videos. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for that follow-up Necrogoblikon video, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Till next time. If you want to get notified when I put out that second video on if you want to get